Have you ever wondered how a place can feed millions of people, power an entire nation's economy, and help change the course of history, yet still remain underestimated by so many? Because there is a place in Indonesia that does exactly that. A place where endless green rice fields meet towering industrial complexes. A place where the story of independence was pushed forward by courageous young people. A place where tradition and modernization stand side by side. A place called Karawang. Most people know Karawang as one of Indonesia's largest industrial centers. They see the factories, the highways, the warehouses, and the economic growth. They see a region that has become a symbol of Indonesia's industrial future. But Karawang is much more than that. Behind the factories lies a story of resilience. Behind the economic success lies a story of sacrifice. And behind the modern skyline lies one of the most important regions in the history of Indonesia. Located in West Java province, Karawang Regency covers an area of approximately 1,911 square kilometers and consists of 30 districts. According to data from the Central Statistics Agency of Karawang Regency in 2023, the largest district is Ciampel, covering approximately 117.63 square kilometers, while the smallest is East Karawang, with an area of around 31.22 square kilometers. These numbers may seem ordinary at first, but what they represent is extraordinary, because across this vast land, generations of people have worked tirelessly to build a region that contributes enormously to Indonesia's prosperity. Karawang is often referred to as one of the economic engines of the country. Yet long before massive factories arrived, long before industrial parks transformed the landscape, Karawang was already playing a critical role in sustaining Indonesia. Its identity was rooted in something fundamental: food, rice, life itself. Karawang proudly carries the title of Indonesia's National Rice Barn. And this is not merely a nickname, it is a responsibility. For decades, the fertile plains of Karawang have produced enormous quantities of rice that help feed millions of Indonesians. When you look across the vast rice fields stretching toward the horizon, you are witnessing more than agriculture. You are witnessing one of the foundations of national food security. Every grain of rice harvested in Karawang represents countless hours of dedication. The dedication of farmers who wake before sunrise, the dedication of families who have cultivated the land for generations, the dedication of communities that understand the importance of feeding a nation. In an age where technology dominates headlines and skyscrapers symbolize progress, it is easy to forget the people who make our daily meals possible. But Karawang reminds us. It reminds us that true progress begins with food security. It reminds us that behind every plate of rice is a farmer whose hard work often goes unnoticed. It reminds us that some of the most important heroes do not wear uniforms or hold public office. Sometimes they wear muddy boots. Sometimes they stand beneath the scorching sun. Sometimes they spend their lives nurturing fields that feed millions. The farmers of Karawang are not simply agricultural workers. They are guardians of a national necessity. They are protectors of Indonesia's food future, and they deserve our respect. But Karawang's importance does not end with agriculture, because this region also occupies a sacred place in the story of Indonesia's independence. To understand this, we must travel back to one of the most dramatic moments in the nation's history. August 1945. The world was changing rapidly. The Second World War was coming to an end. Japan's surrender had created a historic opportunity. Indonesia stood on the threshold of freedom, but freedom was not guaranteed. Decisions needed to be made, courage needed to be shown, and time was running out. It was during this critical period that a small place in Karawang became one of the most important locations in Indonesian history. That place was Rengasdengklok. On August 16, 1945, a group of young Indonesian nationalists took a bold and controversial step. Concerned that independence might be delayed, they brought Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta to Rengasdengklok. Their goal was simple: to ensure that Indonesia would immediately proclaim its independence. It was a moment filled with uncertainty, a moment filled with tension, a moment filled with risk. Nobody knew exactly what would happen next, but the young people involved believed that history demanded action. And because of their courage, events moved forward. Just one day later, on August 17, 1945, Indonesia declared its independence. Today, when people speak about Indonesian freedom, they often remember the proclamation itself. But fewer people realize that Rengasdengklok played a crucial role in making that historic day possible. Karawang was not merely a witness to history. Karawang helped shape it. The fields and roads of Rengasdengklok carry the memory of a nation finding its voice. Every generation that visits the area is reminded that freedom was never handed over easily. It was fought for, protected, and ultimately achieved through courage and determination. This is one of the reasons Karawang occupies such a special place in the heart of Indonesia. It is a region where agriculture feeds the nation and history inspires it. Yet Karawang continues to evolve. Today, the Regency has become one of the most important industrial hubs in Southeast Asia. Major manufacturing facilities, industrial estates, and international investments have transformed the region into a center of economic activity. Companies from around the world have chosen Karawang as a strategic location for production and innovation. Automobiles, electronics, consumer goods, machinery. Many of the products used by millions of people are manufactured within Karawang's industrial zones. This transformation has created jobs, supported economic growth, and contributed significantly to Indonesia's development. What makes Karawang remarkable is not merely its industrial success, it is the balance, the ability to embrace modernization while maintaining its agricultural heritage, the ability to become a global manufacturing center while still preserving its role as a rice-producing powerhouse. Few places in the world achieve this balance successfully. Karawang has, and perhaps that is the true lesson hidden within its story. Progress does not require abandoning identity. Growth does not require forgetting history. Modernization does not require sacrificing tradition. Karawang demonstrates that a community can honor its past while building its future. It can preserve its roots while reaching for new opportunities. It can remember where it came from while deciding where it wants to go. As Indonesia continues its journey into the future, regions like Karawang will remain essential, not only because they contribute economically, not only because they produce food, not only because they attract investment, but because they remind us of something deeper. They remind us that national strength is built through the combined efforts of ordinary people: farmers, workers, teachers, entrepreneurs, families, young dreamers, and community leaders. Every one of them contributes a piece to the larger story. Karawang's story is ultimately a story about people who refused to give up, people who worked hard despite challenges, people who understood the value of sacrifice, people who helped shape the future without always receiving recognition. The next time someone mentions Karawang, do not think only about factories. Do not think only about industry. Do not think only about maps and statistics. Think about the farmers who helped feed a nation. Think about the young patriots who helped accelerate the path to independence. Think about the workers driving economic growth. Think about the generations who transformed opportunity into achievement. Because Karawang is more than a place. It is a symbol of resilience, a symbol of productivity, a symbol of courage, a symbol of national pride. And perhaps the most inspiring part of all is this. The greatest contributions are not always made in the spotlight. Sometimes they are made quietly, in rice fields stretching beyond the horizon, in small towns where history changes direction, in communities that keep moving forward no matter the obstacles. Karawang proves that true greatness is not measured by how loudly a place speaks. It is measured by how profoundly it impacts the lives of others. And by that measure, Karawang stands among the most extraordinary regions in Indonesia, a land that feeds the nation, a land that helps shape independence, a land that powers the future, and a land whose story deserves to be remembered, celebrated, and shared with the world. But the story of Karawang becomes even more fascinating when we look beyond the headlines and statistics, because every great place is ultimately defined by the people who call it home. For centuries, communities across Karawang have lived in harmony with the rhythm of the land. The changing seasons determined when seeds were planted. The arrival of rain brought hope. The harvest brought celebration. And generation after generation passed down knowledge that could never be learned from books alone. Knowledge about the soil, knowledge about water, knowledge about patience, knowledge about survival. Long before modern technology arrived, these communities understood something fundamental, that prosperity begins with respect for nature, that abundance comes through hard work, and that the future depends on the choices made today. This wisdom continues to shape Karawang even in the modern era. As industrial development accelerated and urban areas expanded, the people of Karawang faced a challenge experienced by many regions around the world. How do you embrace the future without losing your identity? How do you welcome economic growth while protecting the traditions that define who you are? These questions have no easy answers, yet Karawang continues searching for that balance every single day. And perhaps that search itself is part of what makes the region so inspiring. Because development is not simply about constructing buildings, it is about building lives. It is about creating opportunities. It is about ensuring that future generations inherit something better than what existed before. This spirit can be seen across Karawang, in classrooms where students dream of becoming engineers, scientists, entrepreneurs, and leaders, in workshops where skilled workers create products that travel across continents, in farms where families continue cultivating the land that has sustained communities for generations, in neighbourhoods where people support one another through both triumphs and hardships. Each of these stories forms part of a larger narrative, a narrative about transformation, a narrative about perseverance, a narrative about hope. And hope is perhaps the most powerful resource any society can possess, more valuable than natural resources, more valuable than infrastructure, more valuable than wealth itself. Because hope inspires action, hope fuels innovation, hope gives ordinary people the courage to attempt extraordinary things. The history of Karawang is filled with examples of this truth. The farmers who transformed fertile land into one of Indonesia's most productive agricultural regions were driven by hope. The young nationalists who played a role in the events leading to independence were driven by hope. The workers and entrepreneurs helping build today's economy are driven by hope. Different generations, different challenges, the same determination, the same belief that tomorrow can be better than today. And that belief continues to define Karawang's identity. When visitors arrive for the first time, they often notice the contrast. On one side, expansive rice fields stretch toward the horizon. On the other side, modern industrial facilities symbolize Indonesia's growing role in the global economy. Some see contradiction, but perhaps it is actually a form of harmony, because both landscapes tell the same story, a story about productivity, a story about contribution, a story about people creating value through dedication and effort. One produces food, the other produces goods. Both help sustain the nation, both create opportunities, both represent hard work, and both deserve recognition. In many ways, Karawang reflects Indonesia itself, a nation rooted in tradition yet constantly evolving, a nation proud of its history yet focused on the future, a nation blessed with natural wealth yet powered by human determination. This is why understanding Karawang means understanding something important about Indonesia. It reveals how diverse strengths can coexist: agriculture and industry, heritage and innovation, local identity and global ambition. Rather than competing against one another, these forces can work together, and when they do, remarkable things become possible. Perhaps that is why Karawang's story resonates far beyond its borders, because it speaks to a universal human experience, the desire to grow without forgetting where we came from, the desire to succeed without abandoning our values, the desire to create a better future while honoring the sacrifices of the past. These aspirations are not unique to Karawang. They are shared by communities all over the world, yet few places embody them as clearly. Today, as Indonesia continues rising on the global stage, the contributions of regions like Karawang become increasingly important. The rice fields remain essential to food security. The industries continue supporting economic growth. The historical sites continue educating new generations, and the people continue proving that progress is built through perseverance. Their story reminds us that greatness is rarely created overnight. It is built day by day, harvest by harvest, decision by decision, generation by generation. The farmers who planted seeds decades ago may never have imagined the scale of modern Karawang. The young patriots of Rengasdengklok may never have imagined today's Indonesia. Yet their efforts laid foundations that continue shaping the present. That is the power of meaningful action. You may never fully witness the impact of your work, but your efforts can create opportunities for people you will never meet. Your sacrifices can strengthen communities you may never see. Your courage can inspire generations you may never know. Karawang is living proof of that reality. Its story is not simply about geography. It is not simply about economics. It is not simply about history. It is a story about legacy. The legacy of those who came before, the responsibility of those living today, and the possibilities awaiting those who will come tomorrow. And perhaps that is the message we should all remember. Every field matters. Every community matters. Every contribution matters, no matter how small it may seem. Because history is not only shaped in capitals and palaces. Sometimes history is shaped in quiet towns, in humble villages, in fertile fields, in places that rarely dominate international headlines, places like Karawang, a region that feeds millions, a region that helped change the destiny of a nation, a region that continues driving Indonesia forward, and a region whose remarkable story is still being written every single day.